sounds great, but how do you do it? It has some practical examples for inclusion of students in your classroom, how to create a warm and nurturing environment. And we are not going to get to that. And then on page 30, there's another article we're not going to get to, and it's welcoming all students, creating a culturally responsive classroom. Want you to be sure that you saw that in there. And then on page 34, this morning we were going to start with what is a good student, and then talk about some cultural definers of a good student. You might want to just read the information there about cultural definers. Page 35, we are going to do that today. We're going to talk about another tool, which is one of the barriers to cultural proficiency. If you take a look at 38 and 39, what you'll find there are some breakthrough questions. We practiced this a little bit yesterday with a little role play with me and Tyree, you guys with some of your conversations. But what we've done here is on the left-hand side, we've put down some comments that people might make. And then on the right-hand side, a question that you might ask to cause the person to think, to stop that dendrite experience going. And what we were going to have you do here is, you see the next question, when will we ever have enough time to do this kind of work? Then you would create a question of how you might respond, and you were going to do that. And that's the purpose of this. And then you'll see some blanks on page 40. And we were going to have you come up with things that you have heard at your school, questions that people say, and then come up with some possible open-ended questions that you could respond to. On page 41, we were going to show you a 20-minute video. We might get to this, we may not, but it's the danger of the single story, and we're going to have some conversation around that today. And what we will do right now is on page 43, you'll see a model of change in chaos. And we want to share with you the model that we use and that we've been using with you just very briefly about how to bring about some change in relationships. By using this model, it comes from chaos theory, developed by Meg Wheatley. And so we'll just briefly go over this a little bit, and then we're going to have you turn back to the barriers that are on page 35, do a little bit of work there, and then we'll share with you the card game that we want to do with you this afternoon.
That's a real neat model to use, just like the ladder inference. A lot of times we think about change as sort of an incremental process, and sort of an external process. What this is really saying is the change happens from the inside out. And it comes out of physics, and it also comes out of a study of ecosystems and the whole idea of looking at how the universe reorganizes itself. So it comes out of mathematics and what's called chaos theory. What it says is that all systems are what they call autopoietic. They self-reproduce. They take themselves who they are and they reproduce themselves. One way of looking at you is that you're in the process of reproducing yourself when you work with kids.
It's on page 43.
And we want them to be like us. What happens is that this is showing that all systems that reproduce.
Who's your 3 o'clock?
Use information, they use relationships, and they have a vision of identity about who they are. And they're constantly reminded.
Why don't you just say that? He doesn't
and they go
have
through a
to
process of self-referencing when they do that.
In the back. Sit at that table in the way back and be her partner for right now. The lady who just walked in, or sit at that table. Either one.
Yourself in terms of what I'm saying.
Are you all right?
You're thinking about it.
Okay.
So there's this constant reflective process that's going on, and then there comes a place where you either agree or disagree with that, based upon who you are, how you see yourself. So you take that information and you use it. All living systems process in relationship. So you are who you are because of the other. I exist because of you. I don't exist without you. Without I and out.
Can you be here for an hour? Okay. You can just take mine. We don't do this. That's all right. Unless you just
how does the structure grow out of
we're
this?
gonna go here and then we have a game.
So all the things that we call the physical things that we use are a product of who we are and how we organize. Like chairs, and tables, and pencils, and pens. Those are products of what we believe to be value, how we see ourselves. Schools, policies, and practices. Those are all products of how we see ourselves. So when you look at this, you'll see that all that grows out of there.
So,
what is the practical application of this?
if you're having a staff meeting and you're introducing some information and you're trying to affect the vision of the school, say middle school transformation, if you submit information, have them article to read or whatever, and you have not changed the relationships, you cannot change the vision. Because the people who are normally sitting together will see the same things that they've always seen. So, you introduce new information, but still the PE people are still sitting together. The social studies people are sitting together. The arts people are sitting together. If you don't have the relationships change, then it doesn't matter what information you give them. You could even change the relationships and give them the same information over and over and keep changing the relation. If you don't have the relationships change, then it doesn't matter what information you give them. You could even change the relationships and give them the same information over and over and keep changing the relationships, and you'll get a different vision. What makes this difficult for some administrators or leaders is that when people form their little groups, they get a little mad at you and they don't want to change. You know how maybe some of you may have felt yesterday when you came in with your friends and then you had to sit somewhere else? You know, only a couple of you did like this. And that's okay, because we understand. You want to be with your friends. But we also know if we want you to have a different perspective, we have to put you in different relationships. Otherwise, what happened today with that conversation couldn't have never happened. If you were always with the same person all the time, or Sharon was with the same person all the time, now you had an opportunity to really embrace different relationships. So that's what you want to do if you want to change the culture, which is what this is all about. So this is a model that you can use. It's a model that we use. And when you see people getting upset, just remember they're self-referencing. They're saying, do I really value that? You know, when a couple of the eyes rolled, do I really value sitting next to Sharon? I'd rather sit next to Willie. Do I really value? So keep the resistance to change that we normally do and go, oh, they're negative, to they're really self-referencing, how important is this to me? So after a day and a half now, you could see how important it is to have other perspectives. Okay? We had Roberto and then Alex.
Our two type person. So when we go back to school, what's a wise way to present this information to our staff, etc., so that it be received properly?
Well, something as simple as this, it might be a very good practice to start off is by having people sit in a different location. Well, we've had some people actually have folks to have the same kind of candy bar, and if you have the same kind of candy bar, you can go sit with people with the same candy bar. Now, people are so resistant, some of them start trading candy bars. You know, this is a strategy. We have people, you know, color-coded and so on and so forth. You'll get all kinds of little resistance. But what will happen over time is that as people begin to communicate with one another, then those walls will begin to fall down.
And what I do is present this model to your principal if you're not the principal, so that you can explain why you want to do this. It isn't just to upset people, that there is a method to your madness, and that you're willing to do that. Now, it has to be consistent. You can't just do it on the first day of school so everybody meets each other, and then October through June, everybody goes to their corner. So it's got to be a constant. If it's once a month you have a staff meeting, make it once a month. And my staff did the same thing to me. You know, when I started doing this, they would, you know, I don't know why Brenda got to make us do it. We ain't kindergartners, and why is she making us sit over here? I remember bringing food to the teacher's room when we had our meeting. Well, I could have had that money and bought me a pencil. So you're going to get it. That's why I had all y'all touch this back here, you know, because that's sometimes the response you'll get. So just stand upright, know you have a reason for it. You're working toward this vision of socially equitable schools and transforming middle school. Your whole watch thing is going to require that you do things differently.
Alex.
And Alex.
Well, you touched on it, all right. To be realistic, if y'all presented it to the administrators, it probably could get done. But me going in to my principal, and he's open-minded, and telling him, you know, we need to switch up, not have all the science teachers, language arts, whatever, like you're saying, which I agree with you, but everything we do, we are in our content area. So, you know, how are you going to get it across to them that we need to do some of this switching up, because we tell the kids